Welcome to After the Show, your weekly movie podcast brought to you by A. Scully and Sid Talk. We're addicted to movies. Are you? Hello there. Welcome to After the Show. Hello, Sid Talk. How are you?
Hello. I'm all right. Are you asking that genuinely? Or are you just saying that because it's like a habit?
No, I'm asking genuinely.
But you know how I am.
Tell me all your feelings.
I have a cold heart. I have no feelings, so I'm
Correct.
good. Too many things to have feelings about this week, so we're just going to check that one. Check it off as all the feelings.
Check it off. Before the After the Show discussion was?
The air conditioner, Cities Skylines.
Oh, yeah. One of your favorite games, Cities Skylines, is about to release a brand new, not just an add-on pack, a brand new game.
Correct. I'll be all over that shit all winter long.
You will. Maybe it might be time for me to have a new video card so you can have my old one and get
please.
An upgrade.
I'll take it. I'll take all your hand-me-downs.
All right. So it is Saturday, August the 5th. It's actually Sunday, August the 6th. We're late this week, Sid Talk.
Correct.
We suck.
We don't suck. There are reasons in life not to sit for a day watching a movie and doing a podcast. It's kind of low on the priority list.
Actually, it's not late for you because you're going to listen to this exactly when you would.
Me?
No, listener.
Oh, yeah.
Dear listener.
Just so everyone knows, I never listen to it.
I do. Because
I'm listening right now as we're doing it, and that is enough for me.
Well, I edit the podcast, so I definitely listen to it every week. It is Sunday, August the 6th. This is After the Show number 799. 800 next week. Nice.
Why are we going to have a celebration?
Yes. We will eat 800 cakes.
I'm down for that.
The movie we're looking at this week is The Covenant. It's a 2023 movie released on Blu-ray right now. You can get it on streaming Blu-ray. It's rated R. It's from our friends at Warner Brothers who sent us a Blu-ray for review. Sid Talk, give us the synopsis of the movie. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant.
I was going to say, yes, it's not just The Covenant. It is Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. Like you said, he must be big shot now because he can put his name in the title. It is a fictional tale of a colonel. Was he a colonel? Sergeant.
No, he's a colonel.
No, he's a sergeant. John is a sergeant in
Master Sergeant, yes.
In Afghanistan, in 2018, who has an interpreter, and a lot of crazy bad shit goes down. And the idea of the whole movie is that America promised people who worked with them against the Taliban American visas, freedom to get out of the country or whatever I guess they would probably choose to have in order to help them, assist them in this 20-year-long. And so this is about one military man and an interpreter and their struggle to stay alive, and then later to get the interpreter and his family what the U.S. government promised them.
I'll give you the one off the box. It says, during the war in Afghanistan, a local interpreter risks his own life to carry an injured sergeant across miles of grueling terrain.
Correct.
Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. Sid Talk, what did you think?
It was really good. It was intense, made my heart rate go up, I'm sure. I haven't looked at my Fitbit yet, but I'm sure my heart rate and all my stats, I might have burned a few calories because it's terrifying. I know this is a fictional story, so this isn't based on a true story or anything, right?
No.
But in your mind, when you're looking at something fictional that's been created by stunt people and art directors and a director and everybody, you still have to think, well, these people did some research, and in real life, some of this and a billion times worse is happening, not just now or in Afghanistan or with the Taliban, but just in human history, right? And that makes me like, ugh. And so while I'm watching it and thinking about it, like, why are there so many fucking assholes in the world? There's your F word for the day, but that's what I think about. That nature is dangerous, right? If we choose to be in it or survive in it, nature, the world, the planet, right? It can be dangerous. People are just being assholes and causing so much destruction and pain. When your religion makes you believe that you can destroy other humans just to follow through with whatever it's teaching you. And I'm not being biased because I have no religion. So don't give me any bullshit about, oh, you're biased against one religion or the other. I don't. Christianity has its own shit that I don't like. Catholicism, all of them, right? But in this one, it's emphasized through the voice, through the dialogue of the Taliban about you'll have a place in heaven with Allah and blah, blah, blah. And you have to kill the infidels and stuff like that. And that means they are indefeatable, right?
Yeah.
There is no end to bad ideas that cause people to be terrible. And that feels like, like you and I both said during the movie, I don't know if they're going to make it, right? I mean, it just felt relentlessly terrible and impossible. And that has to be how in real life, it's just impossible and relentless and terrible to push against human beings who are choosing to do this.
Yeah, it definitely captures the terror of like being a soldier.
Absolutely. Oh, to me, I mean, as much as we know, because we're not in it, but fictionally and in the comfort of our house.
Whatever this captures, I'm sure it's 5 million times worse.
Correct.
But it definitely captures that feeling of, I can't even like put my head up. Any second I could get shot. Or,
yeah. And yeah.
I mean, how aware do you have to be? It's crazy. And this movie, spoilers at the beginning, it sets it up like a regular, we're going on this mission. We've got this mission ready. I didn't expect the mission to go as badly as it did.
That's what sets you up for just feeling bad the whole time.
Because it goes, it's the worst it could go, isn't it? The Taliban turn up. Explain what the mission is. It's
they're going, this platoon? I don't know what they're, it's just a group. There's like 10 of them, maybe, of this guy, this sergeant and his men.
Are you called a platoon? I guess.
I don't know if they're a whole platoon, but they're a group. They've been given the mission of going to find where bombs are being manufactured in different areas. It could be anywhere, right? It could be like in a hut. It could be in a city. It could be wherever.
IED factory.
Yes. Yeah. And so they get some intel and they find a place that's like an old mine and they go there and they're, in the first few minutes, you're kind of built up to like, okay, these guys are tough. They know what they're doing. They're very driven. But then we get a little bit of their personalities. You know how you do. You set everybody up for their little two-dimensional understanding of who they are. And before you know it, again, spoiler alerts.
And this is in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah. And only ones who survive are our main dudes. And it just rattles you.
Yeah, because it goes from, oh, we've hit the jackpot, which they actually say, because we found it. And then they call in, look, we found it, come and help us. And then it just goes to shit. They all die apart from...
Because they're relentless. The idea that drives people to want to destroy other people because of the idea in their mind is relentless. It was like watching someone play a video game where the thugs, for any reason, just keep coming. Like there's a manufacturing thing somewhere hidden in the hills or on the road that just keeps making these men with guns coming to kill you. And it's terrifying.
Yeah, and they don't seem to have any fear. They just come driving up the road.
Yeah.
And they've got what they need. Like even they use a mortar against the Jeep. They seem to have everything they need. You're in their territory, so they've got the upper hand anyway.
To know physically about the terrain, yes.
Yeah. So it just felt terrifying. And then our two people, which is Jake Gyllenhaal's character and his interpreter, are basically for the middle of the movie on the run. And they're, boxed in. Like there's people around all the mountains looking down on them. And they've just got to get to safety. And getting to safety involves incredible hardship.
Yeah, and at some point, our sergeant... Gyllenhaal is injured badly enough that our interpreter, who is Afghan, who's from there, it's his home, right?
Yeah.
And of course, there's the politics and the cultural thing that's going on in this movie that I'm sure is very, very real, that when these people are hired by the U.S. government, or it could be the British government, because we've seen that in shows like Our Girl, where they work with local people, but now all of a sudden that local person becomes like a pariah because they're turning against their own people. Then obviously the Taliban or whoever the bad guy is at the moment targets them because now they're helping the enemy, right?
So you're a traitor all of a sudden.
Right. So we have that played out on different levels here, with the interpreter. And he had no reason, not really, to like drag this guy in a cart mostly dead, carry our sergeant over a mountain, like literally over a mountain to get him safe. It was just, I mean, the name of the movie is Covenant, right? So they've made a covenant inside themselves. So if you wonder about the title, they haven't like sat down and like shook hands and made an agreement or anything.
No.
It's just that these two men kind of lock eyes. They lock in on like, okay, I trust you. And now they're going through this. And the interpreter guy's like, I'm going to save this guy, period. Like there's not even anything else going on here. And he just basically climbs a mountain for him. And it feels like, you know, in normal life, we're not given the opportunity often to like, I guess if you're a firefighter or an emergency room doctor, I mean, we're talking about in civilian life, like a job where you walk in the door and all of a sudden someone's life is in your hands, and you either run away from it because you're like, I can't deal with it, or you just run toward the danger and you know how to deal with it, even at your own peril, or even at the risk of making a mistake or causing more harm by helping, right? That's where I feel like we don't have to experience that usually in life. And this just shows you like we're capable of it. I know it's fictional, but it has to be real. Did you look up any of the real stories that
I couldn't actually find anything. I just saw a vague thing saying Guy Ritchie said he was researching, and there was many stories of the relationship between the interpreter and the sergeant.
Plural situations across the whole of the campaign for 20 years. So he just took individual stories and pieced them together.
Also made a dramatic story of his own.
Right. And so I would want to know, like, tell us some of those real stories, because it's an actual human thing to say, I'm standing up against the terrible thing to save someone, even though I could just walk away.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like that's the real story, and the movie highlights it and makes you think about it and go like, oh, hurrah, you know, we've got two very brave people who are very strong and the kind of people you would want on your side, basically. But I would actually like to know some of the real stories.
And the movie's really well made. It has an awesome score. I really like the music. It's very similar to the music from Guy Ritchie's. All of his movies got Guy Ritchie's at the beginning now. Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes. Do you know the score to that movie with a lot of violins and often out of tune violins that sound really sinister? This movie contains a lot of that. It's shot really well. Sometimes I was like, how did he even get that shot? Is it a drone or is it a crane or what? Like, I don't.
It is gorgeous.
And when there's actual battle, the scene where everything goes to shit, it is like you're watching Call of Duty. Seriously, like it's like a.
You're in it.
Yeah, it feels like a video game. Like you're actually right in there. You can see bullets whizzing. The noise of it is like intense. It's just a really well-made movie. Did you get a lot of feelings? Did you cry in this?
I did.
The connection between the two. While Guy Ritchie said in an interview I just read that they probably don't like each other, and at the end they probably don't like each other, I didn't really get that. I felt like there was an understanding that they were cool with each other.
I think if you had played up a little bit more. So in the beginning, when we first meet the interpreter, he is introduced to the sergeant, and this is right after the sergeant has just had a bomb kill one of his men and their previous interpreter. And he's upset about it, obviously. And so he's introduced to this guy, and the guy who introduced him says, well, this guy is kind of rogue. He doesn't like being told what to do, but he's really good. And, and he's like, okay, introduce me. And they just sort of have this. And I love that the interpreter corrects the sergeant's English a lot, which is hilarious because he says, like, at one point he says, translate for me. And he just looks at me and goes, well, I'll interpret for you. Because, I mean, technically, that's, even in the middle of like really shitty stuff. And so I feel like Sergeant doesn't like that this guy's gone rogue, and throughout he goes rogue a couple times, but in a very good way. Like he knows more about the people they're dealing with.
Like he suspects a guy is probably going to, turn him over or whatever.
And they did, and he was right. Yeah. But the sergeant doesn't like, because it's military. You can't just undermine your sergeant constantly, because there's going to come a time when you're wrong, and then everyone dies, right?
Yes.
So that pisses him off. He doesn't like not being in control. But then at some point you cross a line where Ahmed is his absolute equal, that Ahmed is on a mission. So what we find out throughout the movie is that the Taliban has killed Ahmed's son. And we don't know anything about that. We never are told the whole situation, if it's an older son or whatever, because he has a new baby also. And so we don't know anything about it, except that we now know he has a reason for his own mission to do whatever he's doing against the Taliban, right? Mm-hmm. So that adds to like you understanding why he is so driven, not necessarily to save the sergeant, but just standing up against the wrong, basically.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's powerfully keeping himself not beneath the sergeant at all, but when the sergeant digs at him a little bit, he just kind of looks straight at him like, yeah, I get you, but guess what?
Yeah, I'm doing
guess
what I'm
doing. And Mother Trucker, I'm a man. I've had a life. This shit's just going down around my life, and you and me, we're the same. Don't F with me. You know, that's kind of the vibe you get. So I feel like that's where I left it with their relationship.
And it's a movie about humanity because, like you said, Ahmed, he could have just run off, right?
Yep.
He didn't have to help anybody. And he goes the distance, basically helping him, doesn't he? He pushes him up a
mountain.
Yeah, basically pushes him on a little cart up an entire mountain.
First he drags him on one of those things that you make out of sticks, you know, and then gets a vehicle because somebody tries to kill them, so he kills them, and then gets a wagon from some dudes who also hate the Taliban. So it also gives you the terrifying reality, again, through the comfort of my home. I get that, but that in a war-torn place or in a place that's volatile with very extreme people, and that could be anywhere, like anywhere in the world, but we're talking about here, that you literally have no idea which human, when you approach them, would just as soon blow your head off or turn you in. It'd be like Nazi times, you know, when everybody was telling on everyone. You just have no idea. And that gave me tension all the time. But when you would encounter a group of people, usually men sitting around a thing out in the desert, right? Or on the mountain, I mean.
Yeah.
You didn't know for sure. And he didn't know. But once they find out who they are, because now, see, the thing is in the movie, the Taliban has put out a price on their heads, and now everyone's hearing about it through whatever channels. And now when they encounter people, they're going to know that the American soldier and the traitor, as they call them, who they are. But some people encounter them and they're like, we support what you're doing.
Yeah.
So,
and then when the first half of the movie comes to an end, I thought that was the end of the movie. And then when it said day one, I was like,
yeah,
hold on, what's happening here? And then there's a whole second half of the movie that is another giant action thing.
It is, because the deal is the sergeant gets home safely because of Ahmed. And now the American government isn't pushing forward to make sure that Ahmed and his family get out of there safely. And like, nobody cares. Let's just be honest. At that point, a lot of people aren't going to care. It's a lot. It's a huge operation. It's a lot of people. I'm not advocating this stance. I'm just saying it's logistically, it seems impossible to save every person who tries to help, you know, any government. It could be anybody they're assisting, right? So his thing now is getting on the phone for many days, trying to get through to
get a visa for him.
Yeah. And it's impossible, as we all know, to get anything done on the phone these days. This was 2018, but still. And he almost drives himself to like alcoholism, and you can tell there's a little bit of tension at home with his wife and his kids. Not much. We get barely any of that, right? It's more about him doing this thing. And then he's just like, I have to go back, and tells his superiors, you will do the visas, and that's it. And what we find out is
he literally takes his life savings from his business.
Well, no, they mortgage their house.
Oh, mortgage his house.
Mortgage their house, to get the money to pay. What are they called?
Like a private contractor.
Right. Who
like
happens
military
to be
Contractor.
Homelander.
Yeah,
from The Boys.
I said, as soon
who
as
you immediately didn't trust.
I said, don't trust Homelander. That face, you can't trust it. I've seen what he's done. He's terrible.
So that whole second part of the movie is, just him now going on his own individual mission to physically find Ahmed, who's gone into hiding with his wife and his baby. And it just seems like impossible, right? It's the actual needle in a haystack.
If you thought the first half was badass as a movie, the second half is even more badass. I was like, wow, this is, not only is it a good story about humans, it's a really good action-packed thing as well.
So if you don't care about humans, you just like action, there you go.
And it's also really tense the most tense part for me was when they were driving in that truck, the one that's all decorated on the inside, and they have to stop at a Taliban checkpoint.
Oh, God.
It was terrifying, like, because, you know, you've seen it a million times in movies, but it's where somebody's hidden in the back of the truck and you know it, and then they're going to inspect the truck, and you're like, oh, shit.
And again, it just emphasized to me, like, who the fuck are these people? Who the fuck are you? Who do you think you are to want to decide how other people need to live and then use complete and utter, relentlessly merciless violence because of an idea in your stupid head? Like, it makes me so mad. Can you tell?
Yes.
It makes me so mad.
Anyway, the movie is impressive, I think.
I agree.
And talking of impressive, when it comes to the cast, Jake Gyllenhaal as John Kinley, he's impressive.
Always.
He really is good at playing a military person. And I had to go back and look how many times I've seen him as a military person. You've seen him several times as a military person, including the one where he had no legs. Remember that one?
No.
Stronger.
Oh, yes.
There was Jarhead, obviously. And there was a couple of others that I noticed, which we'd seen, but he plays a really good military guy, and I totally buy him immediately.
I mean, to us, we're not.
I'm sure military guys are like,
it's like
Gyllenhaal.
You hearing a British accent and me going, "It's fine," and you're like, "No, it's really not okay."
But I like Jake Gyllenhaal a lot in movies. He's really impressive.
He feels like he's all in.
Yeah. Is he method, do you think?
I don't know. I hope not. I have strong opinions about that too, but I don't do that job. So I let the people who are doing
whatever he does, what comes out on screen is always very believable to me. And he was believable. His wife is played by Emily Beecham, Caroline Kinley. She's not in it that much.
Mm-mm.
But I did like her. I wish they would have explored that relationship a little bit more, though. It felt a bit...
I think you have to understand that that's not what's driving...
It doesn't drive the story.
Yeah, and it's not impacting... I don't know. I just feel like she's used to him being gone. She says, I've dealt with this for 9 years. I've been here for you. I understand.
You can tell that she understands him, and there's no arguing with what he's going to do. He has to just go and do it, right?
Correct.
And we've got Dar Salem as Ahmed.
Amazing. Yeah. Absolutely amazing.
He's as good as Jake Gyllenhaal.
There are moments when he just does that silent sort of takes a breath or puts his head down or something where you're like, this man is suffering, and he just has to walk away, but he doesn't. And I felt that from him.
Yeah, he's very good. We've got Johnny Lee Miller as Colonel Vokes. You'll know him as Sick Boy from the Trainspotting movies. What do you think of Johnny Lee?
He was actually all right. He didn't seem like a hard ass.
Laid back kind of a bit.
Yeah, and because he's in a role of high authority, sometimes, I mean, I don't know all the people in those high positions, so I can't judge, but from my measly understanding, he was just pretty mild-mannered. Maybe that's...
Like Hong Kong Phooey.
What?
At the beginning of
mild-mannered. Yeah. Why would that bump into your head?
Because it always said on the beginning, the mild-mannered janitor.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that thought is buried in your head so deep. But the phrase mild-mannered triggers you to think of
Hong Kong Phooey.
Is that right these days? I don't even know. I don't want to address that, but...
And then finally, we've got Anthony Starr, the Homelander, as Eddie Parker. He's not in it a lot either, but he is crucial to the plot.
His character is, yeah. And he's fine. I mean, I was convinced that he's a businessman.
Yep.
He does these secret missions, convinced that they can just absolutely do anything. And, I mean, they kind of come through. So, I mean, they totally come through, so.
Yeah. Directed by Guy Ritchie. I'll give you some of his movies. Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. Wrath of Man. Do you remember that one we watched recently with Jason Statham?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Snatch, the Sherlock Holmes movies, Swept Away with Madonna. There's all kinds of movies from Mr. Ritchie. What do you think of him here?
Oh, that was really good. It was beautiful. Everyone seemed highly motivated to really be in it, He often has like a kind of quippy style or something. He totally left that out the door with this movie. Absolutely.
And just did a straight up movie, which I was impressed by because he's pretty into being stylistic in his other movies.
And he limited it to the moments when it felt right, like when he's waking up or when he was sort of like out of it because he had such a bad head injury.
That part was kind of Guy Ritchie-ish.
Yeah,
but
it
rest
was
of
right. It felt right.
Yeah. So I was pretty impressed that he left all that at the door and just, this story didn't require it to be fancy.
Well, he's an intelligent man. He probably figured that out.
IMDb reviews, what are those?
Those reviews where people are like, this is a waste of my time. This is the worst movie ever made. Or, well, that gun wasn't even invented in 2018, so they're just stupid for putting it in there. And you love to read them.
Yeah, so these are the people who give it 1 star, and these are not us. First guy says, how Guy Ritchie is a director is beyond me. At least do some research if you make a war film. This movie is laughable and the acting is terrible. Jake is not believable. His acting is tragic. He probably regrets being in this movie. Rubbish.
Probably. You're probably right, Mr. Nobody. Miss Nobody, Mr. Nobody, whatever you are.
Second guy says, this movie was filmed in a landfill on a shoestring budget. Well, it seemed that way. If you like war movies, try and give this a chance, but it is so cheap you will hate it. Actually, it doesn't look cheap at all.
No. What the hell? What is that?
And number 3 says, well, I won't read that one because it's just a dickhead.
Right on.
Being very political and weird. This one says, it's a pity the directors have become propagandists. Guy Ritchie is a shill, and he shouldn't be making movies like this based on a true story. It's not a true story, but there you go.
Just shouldn't be making this movie. I've decided.
All right, so
instead of me just watching it and getting on with my life, I have to make sure no one else wants to watch it.
Yes. So those are the IMDb reviews. There were no extras on this disc, but we did watch the disc version. So let's give this movie a score. I'm giving Guy Ritchie's The Covenant an 8 out of 10.
I'm giving it an 8.8.
All right. So we like it.
We liked it.
Hoorah. Thank you, Guy Ritchie, for providing us with a great movie. Next week, we're looking at the sequel to the Spider-Man animated movie, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Do you remember that first one? It was awesome.
It was good.
Movie recommendations. I am going with 2 Jake Gyllenhaal films. Number 1, one of my favorites, Nightcrawler, where he is a weirdo. Yeah. And number 2, The Day After Tomorrow, which I believe you love.
I do like The Day After Tomorrow.
And you love Jake Gyllenhaal.
Well, I mean, he's in it.
He is. And what are yours?
It's one of those cheesy natural disaster survival movies from
It's
what,
fun.
early 90s?
Yeah, it's an Emmerich movie.
What year was it?
Day After Tomorrow.
And my recommendations are going back through the whole of this new millennia. Starting with the year 2000, I'm up to 2017. I'm doing all science fiction. So if you like science fiction like me, these are for you. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Bokeh or Bokeh. It's Bokeh from 2017.
Yes.
And that's an interesting, it's one of those, some people wake up and there's no one else. Everyone's gone. The whole of everyone. It's not even, it's more ballsy than The Last of Us, or what's it called?
The Last of Us?
No.
The Living Dead trilogy?
No. Where 2% or 2% of the population has disappeared.
The Leftovers?
The Leftovers, yeah. This one's more ballsy because everyone's gone. Right. Everyone except these 2 people. And, I really enjoy it. It's kind of a quiet little ditty. Day of the Dead Bloodline from 2017.
Was that the last Romero movie before he died?
I don't know.
Let me tell you something about George Romero that I found out this week.
Okay.
He wrote another movie, the final chapter, basically, of his his dead movies.
Mm-hmm.
And then he died, and the script was finished, and now a film company are about to make it.
Right on.
So we will see some more George Romero written, at least. Zombies.
Right on. So you've injected that into my movie recommendations. Very good. Because maybe he's telling me this because I like zombies. I like zombie movies. I don't care how shitty they are. I don't care if it's really lame. I mean, Zombiever kind of crossed the line, and I didn't. I zoomed through a lot.
What kind of beaver is that? Is it an animal?
A zombiever. Beavers who are zombies.
Okay.
And I'm not even kidding.
I was thinking
But I like any zombie story of all. It's hopeless and terrible and A lot of problem solving going on in zombie movies. And then we have Death House, which we watched 2017.
That's Wanda. Yeah, from WandaVision.
Yes, it was. And that guy who does the voice for MasterChef, right?
Yeah.
Which is really, isn't that it?
I think so.
Was that Death House?
Death House?
Yeah.
No, not the guy from No.
The guy who got stuck in the thing at the end.
No, that's not what you're thinking of.
Oh.
That's a totally different movie.
What's this one?
Death House is the one with the ghost, right? Or is that
I don't remember.
with Elizabeth?
I thought I was convinced.
No.
Well, it's called Death House and it's from 2017 and I've seen it. It doesn't sound like
I know
it
what
has.
you're talking about, though.
Yeah.
That one's kind of cool, too.
That one's really awful. That's
Yeah.
about human trafficking and stuff. It's really terrible. I mean, it's an interesting movie to watch, but it's a terrible subject. And then my other ones, Downsizing from 2017.
Matt Damon.
Correct, which is...
Interesting, to say the least.
It's interesting, but it's like, look, honey, I shrunk the kids, you know? Downsizing is literally, they found a way to shrink everyone down so that we're using less resources on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the premise of this whole thing. So it's fascinating.
I think the first half of it is really awesome until they actually get shrunk down, and then it's just it amounts to nothing, kind of. It just kind of gets boring at the
end. And then
end.
it's just not. And my last one is Geostorm.
That's one of the worst movies of all time.
Absolutely. I think it was both of our worst movies of the year. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't watch it. I'm not a 1-star reviewer. I say, you know what? You watch it, and then you come up with your own.
It's a Gerard Butler, Emmerich disaster thing that is really bad.
Oh, Emmerich. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Emmerich. We put you in there a couple times. One for okay, one for not okay.
Yeah. Ace Scully stuff? Is that everything?
I think so.
Ace Scully stuff. I've been playing the new American Truck Simulator Oklahoma expansion pack. See, I don't know how to differentiate between the different states. You kind of do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm driving in Texas, which was the last pack, and now I'm driving in Oklahoma, I don't really see that much of a difference. Is that me, or is that...
I mean, it's just one big landmass.
Yeah, it's just a load of roads and fields.
But in the middle of the North America, well, we're not in the middle of North America. We're in the southern part of North America. The top part is Canada and us.
Right.
So you just have to imagine it's a lot of flatness, and then there's some hills.
That's what I'm seeing. Not many hills.
When you get nearer to the edges, nearer as in hundreds and hundreds of miles, you get mountain ranges, and then you get more tropical, and then you get near the shores, obviously, you get tropical things like palm trees and oceans. And so, yeah, you have to drive a long way to see difference. And right now you're driving across the whole middle.
Yeah.
Which is like fields.
Yeah, mostly
and
I'm
trees.
in Idaho, Texas, and Oklahoma at the moment. It's all very much the same thing, right?
I wouldn't say that, but...
If you're in a truck driving around those places, it's motorways and fields to either side of you, and it's very flat. That's it.
Maybe geologically speaking, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Maybe. Is that the right word?
Oklahoma is the new state they've added. They do these 3 times a year, 2 times a year. Oklahoma is the latest one. The next one is Kansas, and then we're going on to Missouri, which will be interesting to me because we live there.
Well, it'll be more interesting to me because I've driven all over Missouri.
Yeah. And they do everything, including the capital cities of each state, and they're not super accurate. I mean, I don't live in Oklahoma, so I don't know what Oklahoma City looks like. But it has a distinctive style in the game. They're here's a downtown area. Here's a place where you'd go and pick up stuff like a train yard or something.
Right.
It's not like every address is there and you can go and look for your own house. It's more like a vibe. This is what that city looks like. But Oklahoma has added some new weather effects as well, and it's just an awesome game. There's something really, really relaxing about Truck Simulator. You put it on, you turn on the radio. The truck has real radio stations. I put the 80s one on a lot. And then you just drive your thing from one place to another and listen to the radio. I guess that is what truck driving is in real life. Just a bit more stressful. You go from one place to another. You enjoy it, hopefully, because you're driving a cool truck. And you can listen to some music along the way.
I mean, you make it sound great.
Yeah.
I'm sure truck drivers, if there's any truck driver listening to this right now, I understand and you understand that he doesn't understand.
No. I understand as much about truck driving as I do about Oklahoma.
Right.
It's a cool game. I saw on the American Truck Simulator Reddit a real truck driver pulled over and playing truck sim on his laptop in his spare time.
Well, there you go.
There's a driver that really enjoys trucking, you know? So, yeah, American Truck Simulator, it's available now. I think it's $11.99. Not bad, because you'll get hours of gameplay from driving around Oklahoma. Sitar, what's for dinner?
Tonight is going to be baked beans out of a can.
Yes.
And roasted potatoes. And where do these potatoes come from?
The ground. Buckets.
Not buckets. Bags.
Bag. Oh, yeah, like cloth bags.
That wasn't really the answer to the question. The question was, I grew them myself.
You did.
I did. Put a potato in a bag, and many months later, a handful of potatoes come out of the bag. I said my mother, I think, has always said she never really bothered growing potatoes. Like, she always had a garden when we were kids because it was just not worth it. And though they're good, I can see that unless you're doing it on a large scale, right? So that's what we're having. And the reason I'm telling you what we're having, roasted potatoes and baked beans, the vegetarian style of baked beans, is because we're vegetarian. We've been vegetarian since 2009, which is a long time. And people still ask the question, what do you eat? Well, what do you eat? That's how they sound to me immediately when they start to question it. It's like, A, why do you care? B, why are you coming at me with some bullshit attitude about what I'm eating? Like, yeah. I can tell you're judging or you're confused. How are you confused? We eat everything else on the planet that isn't a dead creature. No judgment. I don't care what you eat. And that's it. Everything that's edible. Literally everything that's edible that you can. We try all kinds of stuff. And tonight we're having a very standard vegetarian baked beans.
Yeah.
That's just as sweet and tomatoey and luxurious with creamy, not creamy, but nice thick sauce and home roasted potatoes with olive oil and seasonings of some kind. So it'll be delicious. And bread and butter, probably. Okay, can I just go eat supper now?
Yes. All right, give us your advice and we'll get out of it.
My advice is very short today.
All right, good.
And I've probably given it before. What do you mean good? I can extend it. I can make it longer. I haven't given it this. Oh, I have something very similar back in about week 9-ish, but I'm still going to do it because, you know, life is life. People are people, and we're not here very long, right? Life is short compared to the whole of the universe. Just don't be an asshole. It's very simple. It's really very simple. You know when you're doing it, and you choose to do it because you're weak or because you need something to fill in something that's wrong, or you just love being a dickhead or an asshole. Just don't. Like, I would rather you find the other path, right?
Yeah.
So would the rest of the world. Because all we need to do is eat and sleep and shit and eat some more and reproduce a few more humans and then build stuff and create things and find cures and solve problems and just keep going. So why the fuck do you have to be an asshole about it?
Yeah.
There you go. There's it.
All right,
I've
good
used
work.
that word a lot today.
All right, ascully.com is the place you can go to get this podcast. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram are social media networks that we are on. I'm A. Scully, your Sid Talk.
Correct.
You can also go to Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube. We have podcasts. Well, our podcast is basically everywhere. Just search for After the Show Movie Podcast. You can also email feedback to me, ascully at ascully.com. Don't email Sid Talk. She doesn't want any of your guff. And stay classy, Mr. Guy Ritchie. I think you should always put Guy Ritchie's in front of every movie you do from now on.
Right on. And I'm going to say, think for yourself, or someone is doing it for you.